My name is Brian Calvey and this is Roof Plies, where we provide all the materials for a GRP flat roof, such as the Tuffseal flat roof, which I'm going to demonstrate for you later on in this video. We are going to show you the stripping of a whole roof, the reboarding and the recovering with GRP Tuffseal fiberglass. The process into stripping the old roof completely, reboarding it, putting on the edge trims, which are purpose-made pre-formed GRP trims, and then putting the chop strand mat, the resin with the catalyst added, and finally a fleece in the same resin and a top coat which is grey coloured and has a wax surface finish. So this is me stripping the roof of the old felt. As you can see, it comes off quite easily. It doesn't always work like this. On a hot day it can be the absolute devil. The next step will show the whole roof stripped and the board has been put on. As you can see now, we've reached the stage where we've completely stripped the old decking. This decking is ready to be boarded over with the new sterling boards, 3/4 inch ply. And we've also chased out the brick joint and we've raised it one course higher to get rid of the old bitumen coated bricks below, which are unsightly, and also because the new flashings also give the wall more protection by being deeper. The next part of the job is stitching down these timbers, these boards, with screws. Now the screws accommodate the extra 2-inch wide wood wool slabs, but normally on a common rafter roof, which most people have, or a garage roof like this, will just have ordinary common rafters in, 2.5 inch galvanized or ring shank nails will be adequate. When you've got uneven surfaces like that, just add a piece of packing to take up the bumps and hollows, and when the board comes across, the new board there, you won't notice that. When you step on it, it won't dip. If this trim was flush with the edge of any board, the curvature there, when it's pressed back, forces this trim to rise up slightly because of that curve. And what it does is it forms a ridge, a high point there, which if it's on the actual drip edge of the roof, the falling off edge, it forms a little ridge and a dam behind it builds up. So instead of being smooth and round, it actually comes up and water stands behind that and ponds on the roof. It doesn't look good and people really don't like this. Easily accommodated by setting that lat down 8 3/16, 1/4 inch, doesn't really matter, anywhere in between there, to allow the rainwater to fall straight off. That will save you a fortune. This is an example of the alternative corner you'll see fitted on site, and this just has the 2 returns on it as opposed to the one which you make up yourself. This is the preferred option, but it's your choice. So this is lead mastic sealant onto the lap, onto the corner, which is a particularly good sealant and will last years and years. Same with this one. I'm cutting the wall fillet so to accommodate this 45-degree angle to meet up with that. These cuts can be fairly rough, that's the word, because the chop strand mat, when it covers this along with the resin, will hide and strengthen all of this. So once again, we're setting up another corner There's 3 corners on this particular job, which is unusual. Usually 2 would suffice. And getting them level on both planes, the front drip and the side upstand trim, which prevents water running off this edge, guides it to the gutter as with the drip trim. So we've set that up, and now we're just nailing the edge. So we'll be ready once the trims are on, ready for applying the resin with the catalyst and the chopped strand mat, the fleece, and then the top coat in grey, which is the easy bit. As you can see now, this is day 2. Everything's prepared, all the trims are in place, the drip trim, the upstand trim, and the back wall flashing, or the 3-way flashing as it's sometimes known. The next procedure is to tape the joints on the sheets. There's a joint there, 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 and there. This jointing tape is made out of fiberglass, but a little bit stronger, and this covers the joints between the sheets. This jointing tape covers this. We apply resin to this joint, and then we roll it out with a hard roller, which makes this transparent, and then we're ready to go with the next stage, which is applying the chopped strand mat. One other point, you may see the surface is quite shiny because we pre-treated these boards a couple of days before we started this job, so that we knew we were going to leave it overnight from yesterday, and if there's any moisture gets into the boards, this upsets and spoils the job. It would lift the laminate, would lift the resin. So we pre-treated them. You could do this yourself just by mixing a bit of resin and simply using a 6-inch roller, just wet out the boards just to give them a pre-treatment. So we're applying bandages to the corners to strengthen up all the joints. These are some of the tools and bits and pieces, even down to the disposable gloves that you will be using. These protective gloves, you really need them, and they're inexpensive, and we supply all of these products for you to carry out the complete roof from start to finish. You won't need anything else. You can get it all here from Roof Plies. These are the soft rollers in different sizes, 3, 6, 9 inch. It can be a broom handle can be added so that you don't have to get down on your hands and knees all the time. You can apply it very easily. This is the hard roller in different sizes, 6 inch and 9 inch for bigger areas, obviously. And then the general tools, nails and such, which is straightforward. We'd advise you on that if you called in. This is the chopped strand mat, which is 450 grams per square metre, which is adequate for this type of roof and will last in excess of 50 years. As you can see in the corner, it's wetted out, so it goes from this white colour to translucent, clear, with the resin on it. This is the chopped strand mat, cut to length. This particular roof will take 6 to 7 strips. The flat roof is made up of resin with a hardener added, also called Butanox. This is the catalyst, Butanox, or hardener. It's known by quite a few names, but it's quite an important chemical, which is added at the rate of between 1 and 4% to the resin. Mixed up, it makes it go off very quickly, especially in warm temperatures like today. You might get 20 minutes in which to work with it. So you mix a little and often, rather a lot, and have it all go hard in the bucket. These gradations represent 10, 20, 30, so however much you want, say it's 30 mil, there you have it. Right, I'm going to show you now how to mix the resin with the catalyst at the percentages of, well, we'll go 4% so that it goes off a lot quicker because of this heat. It's approximately 1 litre of resin, and now 40 millilitres, 4% of the catalyst, mixed up simply like so. You'd use a bigger container than this to mix this for obvious reasons, because it splashes over, which is why I moved it onto the board. But this is just to demonstrate a very small amount, but it's a good amount to start with till you get used to it. And try not to get too much air into it. Just by stirring like that is adequate. That's ready to use now and might go off in this heat in 20 minutes. We're going to roll it out, apply the chopped strand mat, apply more resin, and this is called wetting out, where you saturate the chopped strand mat and then you hard roll it, and you'd cover the whole of the decking, the trims, everything else with this. This is the hard roller. We apply like this, and you can see it becoming translucent almost immediately. The hard roller gets rid of all the unevenness in it, makes an even surface, gets rid of the air, and makes a much better job than just simply using that. And this simply goes like that from the edge of the roof to that, and is wetted out, as I explained earlier, with the soft roller applying the resin and the hard roller wetting it out until it goes clear. So we're starting with the first strip of chopped strand mat. Brian has applied the resin, and now Graham is hard rolling the chopped strand mat so that it becomes clear again. Once it's clear, that's called wetted out. The next layers will be laid overlapping 50mm or 2 inches. Right, the chopped strand mat goes up the upstand trim, which is the one on the right hand side of the roof we're looking at, and it comes within half an inch, quarter of an inch to the edge of the drip trim before it goes over the edge, but it does not go over the very end. It stops there. And as I said, the next layer will be overlapped by a couple of inches. Subsequent layers laid in exactly the same way, about 1 metre at a time, is comfortable to work with. Then the next metre, so on. This roof being only 2.5 metres wide. See, straightforward. You'll see a hard edge there and a feathered edge there. We started with a hard edge on the upstand trim, and a feathered edge now overlaps the other feather edge, giving us a hard edge here, and this, the next layer, a chopped strand mat, will apply so that you've got the feathered edge over there, so you don't have two hard edges forming a ridge. Lightly cut, and then I can pull it apart. This forms the feathered edge. This particular one has feathered edges on both sides. Easily worked, and just gives the desired smooth effect which the whole roof, when finished, will have. You can now see the completed, well, the roof completed so far with the chopped strand mat, covering the whole roof right up to the edge and up to the flashings at the back, up to the edge here. And the next stage is getting it prepared for the tissue. The tissue or fleece coat just tidies the whole lot up and maintains a 2 to 3 mil thickness across the whole roof. And it hides all the roughness of the chopped strand mat. And it's an integral part of the whole roof. And it's essential that it is put on. A lot of people leave it off. You shouldn't. It takes a little bit of effort to put it on, but we'll show you how simple it is at the next stage. So this is the tissue, just a small sample, and all we do there, and this resin hasn't gone off yet, so we do not use the hard roller on that. We use the soft roller. You get better at this the more you try. So I suggest you use a sample board like this and do a practice. You don't even have to mix that much up. Mix a very small amount and just get the feel of it. Covering the whole roof with this, except the edges of the trims in the vertical upstands. So we don't need to go right over the edge of them, which would be very difficult. The chop strand mat is now covered with the fleece right up to the edge of the trims and the upstand trims, and all that remains is to rub it down with the sandpaper to get all the imperfections out prior to putting the gel coat, the grey finishing coat, on top of this, and then tucking the wall flashings in, and then that will be the whole roof complete. Here we have the gel coat, the grey top coat, the finish. It has to be well stirred from the bottom of the bucket to get an even colour right through, otherwise you'll get streaks, which you want to avoid. And we add to this, at these temperatures, 2 or 3% of the Butanox catalyst. Now this is the dangerous catalyst, and it's colour coded red so it doesn't get mixed up with the acetone and any other solvents which are clear. 2 to 3% will be added to that. We'll mix a small amount and then we'll prepare the drip details prior to doing the whole roof. So we've added the Butanox, the catalyst. Give it a good stir, but try not to get any air into it. This is the board I completed half an hour ago. Is it a little tacky, but that's fine. You could now apply the gel coat. And all it's applied with the roller the same. I'm just showing you an example over the tissue, the fleece area, and then I'll show you over the rough area. You'll see how the rough area picks up the strands, the tissue, super smooth. And just one last thing, if you leave anything lying around, such as the roller, when it goes off solid, and you'll have to chisel that off. So what we're doing here is doing all the drip and trim details so that the edges are all finished. When we do the main body of the roof, we don't have to concern ourselves with the edges because they'll all already be done, and we can get on. If you do this afterwards, you might have to overlap, go over the big areas. All the drip details are completed, and now we're doing the main body of the roof, again with the same gel coat. The gel coat contains 2% wax, which when it cures, when it dries out, this wax rises to the surface, gives it a nice sheen, which allows it to be touched, walked upon, without being tacky. The first coat of resin had a tackiness to it. The gel coat, the finish coat, doesn't, because of that wax. And here you see the completed roof, which took about 15 to 20 minutes. Not a lot of time, is because all the time was spent in preparation. And the preparation is what makes the job go a lot easier and is always beneficial. I'm just mixing up a small amount of grey just to show you how you would repair a damaged section of this GRP roof, or if you were just finishing off any detail work, small areas, you can mix the smallest amount up and simply apply it. It can be brush applied as well as applied with the roller. Now repairs to this particular flat roof, say a ridge tile fell off the roof, went through the actual, punctured the surface, it could be flatted off, chop strand mat applied, the tissue applied as I did earlier, and then finished with the gel coat. Half an hour tops, and again will last you decades and decades. and that's it. If you get any imperfections in the surface, some high points, some ridges, and you don't like them, it doesn't affect the waterproof capability of the roof, but what you can do is rub them off very simply with sandpaper. You could then reapply the top coat, the gel coat, and that's the finished job. This is acetone, another of the chemicals we use purely for cleaning of the hard rollers and to some extent the soft rollers if you wish to reuse them, but mostly the soft rollers are disposable. So we dip this into the acetone. It's a clear liquid, very similar to petrol, smells not dissimilar to that. It softens the resin so that we can clean the flutes like this, so we can reuse them. These hard rollers can be used again and again, and you can, while you're working, just leave them soaking as long as you put the lid back on the tub to contain it, because it'll evaporate very, very quickly. What we've done is we've applied this up the sides of the bucket like so, so that's coated. We leave the roller in that thus, and when it goes off solid, we just pull the roller and the whole lot comes out, leaving the bucket clean and ready to use again. This was the resin earlier in the bucket which we showed you, and how we painted up the sides, and once it goes off you can pull the whole thing out and then use the bucket again. Just another little trick. If you separate that, it's more difficult to get it out. And there you have it. You've got a Tuffseal GRP glass fibre roof which should last in excess of 50 years.